My apologies, Derek. It's time to stop the drumming.
Oh, okay.
We gotta do our interview.
Okay, let's get started.
I am here with Derrick Whiteskycloud, and we're going to be talking all things paranormal, attachments, and what got him into the field. You ready to do this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's get started.
You wear many hats. You're a shaman, a Métis historian, a drum maker, an artisan, an ordained minister, a medium, trans medium, psychic, a healer, and the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Today I want you to put on your Paranormal Investigator hat and talk about all what there is to know about that.
Okay.
Firstly, who are you?
I'm Derrick Whiteskycloud. I'm originally from Manitoba, born in Brandon. My relatives, my grandmother's from Bear River Reservation in Nova Scotia. So I make them Ojibwe. I like to work in the community. I do a lot of Métis historical work. I actually with the Métis Historical and Culture Preservation Society. I'm a culture director. I teach this kids in schools. As a paranormal investigator, I've had this gift all my life since I was young, and especially Winnipeg, because Manitoba is one of the most haunted provinces in Canada.
That leads me to my next question.
Mm-hmm.
When did you know you had a gift? And what is your gift?
Well, number one, I would say start when I was 8 years of age. When I realized that we had 2 ghosts in our house, and my mom said those are my babysitters. So whenever the babysitter wasn't there on time to be there to babysit me, because my mother had to get to work and so did my dad, my mom would say, watch my boy until the babysitter gets here. And next thing you know, I had 2 ghosts. It was a male and a female that wouldn't let me out of the house until the babysitter showed up.
For people who are unaware of your gift, what would you call it, and how does it work? Run me through the process.
Well, you can actually call yourself a psychic or a medium, but I call myself a psychic medium because I read people's futures, but also I actually contact with loved ones that are crossed over. So basically I'm reading your future, plus their help from the spirit world helps you give them direction. So it's not just me doing it alone. I listen to the spirits, they tell me what to say, so I'm actually become the messenger. That's my job.
Now, do you see them in the flesh, so to speak? Like, can you see them how you see me, or is it more voices?
It depends. I can hear them by voice, or I can actually see them, but it's almost like transparent. Sometimes I see them half a body this way, one half is solid, one part is not. Or I can see the upper part of the body from the waist up. And sometimes they're transparent, so it depends. Anybody in any spirit that has crossed over, they'll use as much of their energy to appear to you or to take form, and even in shadows. So it depends on each individual.
Now, with your gift, kind of modern day paranormal investigating, it goes hand in hand. Have the token medium, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to get into actual paranormal investigations to use your gift?
Actually, it was interesting because I would say back in 1992, a fellow became a friend of mine who actually come looking for me, and I wasn't practicing these skills at all because I was actually a carpenter by trade. But he came into a thrift shop, coming looking for me, and even by name, he knew my name, knew everything about me apparently, but he also told me himself that Spirit directed him to the store to look me up and to find me and to train me. So when he made that first approach and I accepted his question, which is, he said, do you understand what psychics and mediums are all about? And I said, sort of. And he said, well, you're one of them, and I'm here to train you if you want to. And I took interest in it suddenly, and he says, so when do you want to learn? I said, whenever you want to. He said, well, come with me now. And we were in Burquitlam, which is up near, it used to be an old thrift store there. And he took me across the road for about a block and a half, and my wife was with me then. And the first thing he said to me was, okay, what do you feel here now? And we're actually in an area where there was some bushes and some concrete sidewalk, so to speak, and some looked like rust on the sidewalk, but I couldn't tell because it was almost at sunset. And he said, okay, so what's the first thing you feel or hear or see? And then I start telling him the story about what I see, and regarding a woman that's passed away, how it took place and who hurt her or supposedly killed her. And I described it, how it took place. And so he never said to me, "You're right, you're wrong." All he kept on saying was, "Keep going, keep going." He never smiled. He had a straight face, because his training was, you don't request an answer. You need to say what comes from here and trust your guidance. And so that's what I did. And he kept on telling me things that I was seeing, and he kept on saying, "Go, keep going, keep going." Once the story was done that I shared, he then answered me and said everything I said was exactly right. He said, "But do you think the person that killed him, that killed this young lady, in the case, do you think they got away with it?" And I said, "Yes." He walked away. And I said, "But he'll get caught eventually." And he says, "Yes, he will." So it depends on every individual. We're always told, even the woman that passed away herself, her consciousness came to me and told me her murder will be solved.
How long have you been in the paranormal field for actively investigating?
Oh, since I was a kid, but I remember having a pencil and a small little pad in my pocket and a flashlight and a tape recorder. I don't know. Our chimes are starting to act up now because we had some wind. But yeah, that's pretty well it started, and took a lot of batteries to use flashlights. I'll tell you that for sure. But and because especially like we're being in Manitoba, where I was investigating first, but it was just, we weren't calling ourselves paranormal investigators. You just wanted to find out if there's actually a ghost. You know, the house is old. The houses are always old there. Some of the houses that we find that have been abandoned or empty for over 200-300 years, because the settlement in Manitoba was in the 1600s. So there's so many places you can go to and explore. It is absolutely, and these are not even in books yet, but yet you'll always find someone who is a ghost or a presence that want to be heard. And yet every story is different. It's never the same.
With having your gift when you're on paranormal investigations, you probably have seen a lot of things, experienced a lot of things that a quote-unquote normal person with no gift wouldn't experience. What are a few things that stick out to you?
You.
Me?
I would say you're the most fun person to be with whenever we go on investigation, because I think the first experience with me, when we were in Barkerville, and when we were in the Barkerville Hotel, and I was in my regalia. At the time I was playing the Pioneer Voyageur. So basically I was wearing my outfit at the time, and Mike was with me. You were with me. And spirits have been known to walk through me and out through me. And I remember that night, it was so funny. Your experience was, because the ghost walked through me, because I accepted the ghost to walk through me to make contact, but his face appeared through my face and scared the living crap out of you. And you jerked and you ran behind the bar.
Yeah, I did.
So it was the most surprising but yet funny, because all these ghosts are just all these people that are passed away are just trying to tell you that they're there, but yet they're still protecting their life. They're protecting what they remember. They're protecting what's left of the residual time. And so, you know, it's I've never been harmed. I've always been open about it. But if a spirit or a ghost tries to harm a team member or someone I'm with, I'm the one that comes in and takes over and say, "Hey, you can't do that." And I've been noticing a few people I've worked with through the years, and they've all said, "How come you can handle it and others can't?" And this is because I'm so used to growing up in the paranormal, or growing up around spirits and ghosts, that it doesn't affect me. It doesn't scare me. You know, I mean, I can't say I'm not scared. I've had a few moments in my childhood, you know, when I was a young guy, who actually had a demon, I would say a very demonic scare. But again, that's my training. I had to learn to confront the most darkest things in my work, because that's my practice. This is basically, you know, I'm not calling them out, but I'm also, I'm curious to find out why it's there. And I want to let the public know what's going on.
Okay. I have a lead-in question for my next segment of questions. Talking about experiences as a medium, what is your darkest experience?
When I was attacked. My first darkest experience is when I was attacked. A person has passed away that committed suicide, tried to take me over, invaded my body. First experience in my life. He invaded my body where I couldn't see through my eyes, but I was looking through his eyes. Like he tried to take over me, and I was driving, and I was trying to get home, and I could barely see, and I basically had to stop my vehicle, and I pulled my door open and I threw up because he was trying to invade me while I was driving, but he wanted me to go one way and I wanted to go home. And I kept saying, no, you can't do that to me. But when I did get home, I dashed into the house. I told my wife my body's been taken over. My wife knew exactly what to do. She brought out the medicines and I got into the tub, stripped down my clothes, got into the tub, and she put in the medicines in the tub and filled it with water, and I was on my knees. And my wife screamed out, called out, "White Bear, help your brother." And she soaked the towel over me and started cleaning, trying to get the darkness out of me because it was refusing to leave. And but we knew what to do. We just had to fight it because there's sometimes people that pass away can be very invasive. And if their life was traumatic or dramatic, and if they think they can actually take you over, you got to be aware of it. And I've actually had 2 young boys who actually were attacked from darkness demons, and their eyes turned jet black. And 2 individual times they came, the parents brought these boys to me, and these boys were taken over, and they're demonically actually possessed. And I had to help them to get the demon out of these kids. So that was another adventure in itself that I've never seen a person's eyes turn completely jet black.
No.
And you can tell the deepness, darkness. If anybody ever tells me that you don't know much about paranormal, try me. Because, and this is not your typical movie, it's real. It can be real. But you have to be aware of it.
Story? I remember you always would tell a Ouija board.
Oh, the Ouija board story. When I was 10, living in Manitoba then, there was 2 twin brothers, British brothers, and there was a Jewish boy that I was, I was invited to their birthday party, the twin brothers' birthday party. And a lot of kids were there at the time, and I guess the 4 of us were what's left of the party. And we're downstairs in the basement. And there was 2 couches, one on one side and one on the other, and there was a cardboard or a wooden table or coffee table in the center. And the 2 brothers got this brand new birthday gift, and that was actually a Ouija board. And I didn't know much about it, but for some reason, when I looked at the box, I didn't feel comfortable about it. I don't know why. Why should kids' games? I thought it was a game. Why should it scare me? I felt very on edgy. And yet when the boys, okay, well, I want to play this game, and they opened it up, and they placed the board on the table, pull out the planche, and they laid it on top. And for some reason, I could not get close to it. I was so afraid of it. I don't know what it is. Something to do with no, I'm just sitting there. And the Jewish boy to my right had a Star of David, and it was a necklace, and he actually said, he said, this is the devil's board. Kept telling the boys it's the devil's board. And the boys going, "Oh, you're crazy, you're crazy." And he goes, "Look, I can prove it." So he took off the Star of David, and he said, "If this is the devil's board, you will burn. But if it's not the devil's board, then you won't burn." He laid the Star of David on top of the board. We saw, all 4 of us watched smoke come out from underneath all 4 sides of the Ouija board. And then one of the boys got freaked out, jumped up and pushed the board off the table, and it was burnt black in the center of the coffee table. I got up and I was gone because all I could smell was sulfur.
Wow. And what does sulfur usually mean for people who
Demonic.
don't know? Yes.
Demonic, yeah.
Why do people get attachments? And what is an attachment?
Attachments are because they're attracted to you and they feel that you can help them. Sometimes the attachments can be a good or bad, depends on each individual. I know you get them a lot because you become a paranormal investigator. Once you become so immersed in it, and the attachment is the way it's spoken. I wanted to give you guys a little more of an understanding of it. An attachment does not mean that it attaches itself to you like Klingon. What it is, it follows you home. So anytime I tell people, if you're going to go on a paranormal investigation, you make darn sure that you tell those spirits or ghosts to stay where they are, that they're not welcome to come with you, because a lot of times they'll come home with you because they are attracted to you. They're attracted to the work that you do, or your energy, or your light. Like everybody has a light. And if you walk with enlightenment, they'll follow you home. And especially women, they love walking home with women. And they'll go with you as far as they can. And then they start to, once you do get home, you'll start noticing a lot of changes and things happening in your home. And you're going like, that's not right, doesn't make any sense, until you realize after, when you start bringing out your K2 meters or whatever you have that's available, and you start saying, okay, is there anybody here that followed me home? And if it answers you, you know full well their presence is there. And if you are a psychic or medium and already sensitive enough to know their presence is there, then you got to tell them, look, you're not welcome here, get out, you don't belong here. Because if you don't say anything, they'll keep on bugging your dreams, your sleep, and you're going to have such uncomfortable sleeps for the longest time. And it becomes nightmarish. Sometimes. You have nightmares. Oh yeah, because their consciousness is jumping into your consciousness, and they're trying to play with you, and it becomes absolutely ridiculous. So, but again, and I've seen people that are not investigating that also will experience it.
How do you protect yourself from attachments?
There's different types of protection. Anytime that I start, first of all, if I'm on location, I always bring tobacco with me to honor the grandfathers and the grandmothers and all the ancestors that come with me to help assist me. I also ask to bless the land that we walk on. So I lay the tobacco out before we enter. I also ask the crew that I work with, and we do prayers of protection before we start. I honestly do tell people this. You guys need to do prayers of protection. Sometimes some people that are paranormal investigators don't believe in God or believe in the Great Spirit. But I tell them, I said, you know what? Whether you do, whether you don't, try to create an energy of white light of protection of the highest good, because if you don't, you're going to be the one that they attach themselves to. So you got to do your best. And after you're done the investigation, it's better if you actually smudge yourself with either good sage or sweetgrass, and to, again, tell the spirits to stay at home, to stay where they belong. They don't come with you. Because, again, you don't want attachments. So, again, these are a lot of the lessons that we need to learn. And I've watched a lot of people, at different programs. I've watched some of their investigations. And sometimes they're going like, you know why people are getting sick, and that's why they're going like, oh, I don't know why I'm getting sick. I can tell you exactly, because you're not doing exactly what you should be doing. I've lost a good friend over the last couple of years now, and he himself adamantly always said, and he was a medium in England, very good person, and he kept on saying, make sure you always tell them to stay home, because if you don't, they're going to follow you home. So, yeah.
What do you tell new people getting into the paranormal field? Because it's still a hot thing to do. What advice would you give them?
Well, a lot of children now today are wanting to get into it more. It's almost like being a rock star, right? I remember when you and I were a couple years back, I would say maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when we were actually in Barkerville. Love Barkerville. It's got a nice, cool vibration. Being at Barkerville, and then this young little boy who apparently his mom said he watches every paranormal show as much as he possibly can. His mom's a photographer, and he saw us as like rock and rollers. We were like a cool band.
I remember that.
And he even wanted our autograph. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Basically it's, but again, that he wanted to experience it, go with us and find out what it's like. It's okay to have kids that if they want to come along, but the thing is, what you need to understand one thing, folks, kids are innocents, and they have a lot of innocence, and yes, they want to explore and experience what we go through, but the thing is that they're the first that may get attacked. I've seen a 10-year-old boy who actually is in a wheelchair that got possessed by a demon and tried to tell me, the demon that took over the boy, tried to tell me that I had to go kill someone if I need to to get my life to clear up, and that's that I go like, leave the boy alone, he's an innocent. So that's something that most people understand. Is not a game, it's for real. When you are playing with the paranormal folks, you are going against even darker forces that are, I mean, we're not looking for the bad parts of things. We're looking for the lives that had lost, that we want to investigate what happened, when it happened, how can we help. We're not here specifically as rescue mediums or rescue crew. We're here to help out and find out, to tell the story, what our history of the paranormal is all about. So everybody likes to create words, para and normal, or even as an investigator. That word, none of these words existed when I was doing my thing. I was there just to find out. I mean, even before that, they used to call us ghost hunters, or even before that, they used to call us something else. So it's been around for a long time, since the early 1930s, where even they made a movie where Bob Hope did a movie, and he wanted to be a ghost hunter, but they didn't call themselves ghost hunters at the time. But yet, again, everybody wanted to experience when that thing was so cool. And it was cool for a while, becomes a fad, then it dies out, no pun intended. And then again, through the years, again, it started happening. And if it wasn't for England to bring back the paranormal, then none of this would be talked about. Everyone's made documentaries in Canada, but mostly the investigations were done recording in the States. But in Canada, we'd never had paranormal investigations. We've always had documentaries investigations. So now Canada, for some reason now today, has become more caught up. We're beginning to catch up now to say, you know, we've got history here too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, as a guy that's been investigating longer than I've been alive, you've seen a lot of teams come, a lot of teams go, a lot of investigators come, a lot of investigators go, a lot of bickering, a lot of drama. Teams now are a dime a dozen. They come up faster than a McDonald's. What advice would you give somebody new to the scene on how to pick the right team?
New to the scene. Well, number one, put your ego in play. You know, leave your ego at home, because if you think you're going to get the best ghost in the world, and you're going to challenge everybody else, ain't going to happen. You can't walk into a hotel room somewhere and say, okay, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to take over, you get out of here, go do your own thing, you go to some other room, I'm going to want to investigate this on my own. Why? Because your ego's in play. It doesn't work that way. We're supposed to work together as a team. If you want to work by yourself, then don't join the team. That's the way it works. Because we all have to work together, because if by some chance that you're by yourself and you get attacked and your team's not with you, who's at fault? It's not the team, it's you. So you need to be responsible, and it's a big responsibility. It's bigger than you think. This is not just a joyful thing to do. I enjoy it because I'm curious about what's going to happen in the future. You know, what's going to happen for, anybody that's passed away. I want to find out what really happened. I love investigating the history. But if I'm not going to get any answers from anybody in the spirit world, or anything that's not going to happen in a certain, like, not every place is going to have an answer. Not every place is going to have a paranormal activity. You know, sometimes you'll have a ghost that will not answer you, and they will not. If they don't like you, you're not going to get nothing. You're going to get dead air, specifically dead air. Then there's other teams can walk in there going, oh, we got all this. Oh, wonderful. Well, good for you guys. Doesn't make you better than us, you know. But you got to have experience. And if you don't have enough experience, ask. Don't think you can walk in by yourself, oh, I can do this. I saw it on TV. It doesn't work that way. You watched only little bits and pieces of minutes what these guys have done on TV. But what they've done in one show, that's even 1 week's worth of programming, of recording. They have to accumulate all that less in maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's it. So it's not as easy as you think.
True that. You and I have been hell and back on investigations. I did some quick math. You and I have spent over 100 hours in a vehicle together. We've been to dozens and dozens of locations together.
Mm-hmm.
What are a couple stories that stick out to you of our investigations?
Cottonwood. That's one of my, I would say the most surprising were, you and I were with another team, I think his name is Bill, who was the caretaker there. I hope he still is there. Him and his wife and family were there, and again, the area of Cottonwood is right next to Barkerville, and the history is that there is a group of people, they're Chinese, they're called the Tong, and historically, over 150 years ago, there was 3 Chinese men that went missing, and they were murdered, but they didn't know where the bodies were buried, and for years, no one actually knew where they were. So Mike and Bill, or Mike asked me, and another team member asked me, Derrick, do you think you can find them? And I said, well, give it a shot. So I have a special tool that I use. And I talked to the spirits, and they said to me to follow that trail. We walked out into the bush, and I said, you're going to find them right here. And the first thing Bill said, are you sure? Dig, you got nothing to lose. So I walked away, and Bill did his digging, and then we had to leave. I know that because it was getting late, so we left. And then a couple weeks later, I think it was a couple weeks or a month or 2 later, we went back and visited Bill again. But Bill is I would say Bill's greeting to me was a little more positive. Like normally they'll say, oh, hi, how are you doing? It's more like, hi, how are you doing? And he says, I need to talk to you. Okay. And he said, I was a skeptic for the longest time when you guys came out here the first time. He said, but when I saw what you'd done, and I followed through by digging up that ground, you told me where to find, supposed to find those 3 Chinese men, we found them. We found them exactly where you said they were.
Wow.
And he said, you made me into a believer. And like I said, I learned this, help to find missing people that way, is because when I was up in Burns Lake many years ago, back in the early 90s, my wife and I were there for about 3 months. But in the area, there's a band called the Skin Tai, and big shout out to them as well, the band. And I learned something from them when I was asked to come out to help bless their land for them, because there was a Baptist minister as myself. They were digging up all their relatives that were buried for hundreds of years in that location. So they're digging up all their relatives, but they're spread around all over the forest. And this is uncharted land. This is not, where there's a road. You had to make your own road. So we got out there, and I was helping them find their relatives. And they used 2 leg bones of one of their ancestors. So basically, they were using their leg bones as the, like as if you're witching for water, so to speak. And we found all the relatives, and I learned it from them. I mean, it was phenomenal. So I learned what they do. So we dug up all the relatives and made a brand new cemetery, a location on that location. We feasted there for 4 days. It was the biggest thrill of my life. It was the biggest honor for me to learn from them, because if it wasn't for them, I'd still probably just to be an investigator helping to find them. But now what I learned with my special tools, I'm not using leg bones, folks, but I have a special tool that I use to do my deeper research. So, and I listen to Spirit, because I learned from one thing of what Spirit has told me, is that if you trust them to give you the message, they're going to give you the message back. If they want to be found, you'll find them. If they don't want to be found, it's not your time, then it's not your time. That's just the way it is.
Where can we reach you?
You can reach me here in Vancouver, or the Surrey region, Surrey, BC, here in Canada. That's where I am. And I've been doing this work for over 36 years. So it's not just something I've done, just started doing it. I've been doing it for a long, long time.
All right. I've always wanted to say this. Play us out.
Play you out?